Hi, good morning, everyone. Today's April 11th. This is the weekly Jupyter Dev meeting. We keep our notes over in Dropbox paper, and I'm looking at that right now. We start off by looking at our action items from last week, and folks will check off what's done as I go through them usually. So it looks like things are getting checked off right away. We have one outstanding item, which is Jupyter Lab extension handling is undergoing a major change. So the issue is 2011. And once it lands, they'd like others to kick the tires and by writing some extensions and trying to incorporate them with Jupyter Lab. So that's the org is Jupyter Lab and the repo is Jupyter Lab, and it's issue 2011. All right, so we've got some outstanding, we have one outstanding action item from March and February. So Matthias is still looking for feedback for his async REPL implementation. Let's see if Matthias is on the call. Nope. So I'll ask Matthias to just make a note for next week to let us know what other kinds of feedback he's looking for. This has been on for a couple weeks, so I'd love to know what else is needed to move this forward. And y'all can also comment in the issue. It's in the IPython org under IPython, and it's pull request 10,390. Next in the list, we have our weekly news by organization. Folks who are watching this can click on each of these links to see how many pull requests, how many issues were closed, etc. are in each of these orgs. We have over 5 orgs in GitHub for Jupyter, and these are the most active ones. So we don't usually go through these in the meeting, but everybody's welcome to click on these and check out what's going on in each of the orgs on their own. So on the project management side, it's been pretty quiet the last couple of weeks, and I'm just catching my breath and getting caught up on things. So you can look for a doodle poll for the Jupyter widgets tutorial that we talked about, I think last week or the week before. I'm going to look to schedule that for the end of April or beginning of May. Sylvan and Jason, so they'd be happy to give an overview of what's in the new widgets release. So I think that would be really cool. All right. So next we have IPython. Looks like, is that Min? Are you doing IPython?
I added a note. This was related to my question earlier, but okay. Yeah, there's just a couple of small bugs that have been fixed in IPyKernel. So I'd like to release that. I can do that right after the meeting today if there's no objections.
Cool. All right, and if you have any objections, you can make a note on that that bullet item, or speak up during the meeting. Okay, next we've got the notebook, Grant and his cat, and Thomas. You guys have matching cats, Min and Grant. Nope, you're on mute, Grant. Nope, we cannot hear you.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Okay. Hey. So not a lot of updates since last week, since the release. I'm just working on issue triage at the moment. And one of my goals for this month is to just cut down the number of issues big time. So ideally try to cut it down in half. That might be a little too idealistic, but we'll see.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is that goal in the notes?
No, but I can add it.
Let's add it.
I just don't want anyone to, hold me to it.
I think it's fun to set the goal and see how close we can get.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
And when I say we, I mean you.
You mean me?
No, I'd be willing to step in too and help out if you're close.
Well, I guess I should just ask, because there's a fine line between respecting people's, like people open issues, and you don't want to just close them on them without fully responding. I understand that, but do we have like any guidelines in terms of like issue triage etiquette? Does anyone have any insights regarding that?
Hey, Grant, it's Carol. We've done some stuff on Jupyter Hub, and one thing, we could talk about it offline as well, but one thing we did do is some of the issues that we wanted to close but didn't necessarily have a good place to close them, we just closed them and said we were marking them as reference, because it made people feel a little bit better. And then there was some standard wording that we kind of used in different situations, so that might help.
So you just applied a label to these issues?
The ones that should be closed, because we weren't going to work on them probably ever, but there was probably good information within the conversation in the issue, and I can send you offline. I'm driving right now, but
okay, yeah, because we have I think we have a no action and a not notebook milestone within the notebook repo. So maybe that's the technique, is you just mark those with no action, and then they're still there, they're still open, but we can kind of filter them out when we're actually working on things.
My guess
I
is
would close them, but
I was going to say that the rhetoric of reference, I think, is going to be better received by someone than no action.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's nice to close them because, especially if they've been around for more than a year. And
right.
In the cases that we weren't certain, but I left sort of a message like, hey, is this still relevant? Please let us know. If not, we'll close it in like 30 days or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we can talk about it later, though.
Okay, thanks, Carol.
Okay, thanks.
In Jupyter Lab, we have a label for needs info, and very often, especially for the things that have been left open, if we ask a question and somebody hasn't responded in quite some time, those needs info ones we can close, because basically we were left hanging. Like, you can't really take action on those anyway. I know that doesn't cover everything, but that does cover a subset.
Yeah.
Grant, a common thing that I do is when I close an issue, I'll say, closing this due to some reason. If you disagree, please feel free to reopen. So that leaves the door open to them.
Yeah, because that way at least you are closing them and making some progress in terms of like cutting down the number of issues, but you're leaving it, open to discussion if they feel like there's more discussion needed. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Makes sense. Thanks, Grant. Let's see here. Next, we have Mike with NBConvert.
So I'm still moving forward on getting the on-the-fly upload for the notebook to work for NBConvert stuff. This is starting to look like it might dramatically change the UI model for how download should work, because as soon as you're starting to upload a configuration and then having to choose the file format in case it wasn't actually specified in your configuration file, because you want to use the configuration file for multiple different output formats, then you also need to have that choice. And then all of our current options are more or less equivalent to having no custom configuration passed in, and just choosing that particular output format. So there's that's coming up. Right now we've got the upload working, the conversion working, and then the download is the hard, with a post is hard. What I'm currently trying to do is use an anchor, hidden anchor with a data URI download, sort of attached to it. and that seems to be messing with the zip file version of the download if it has outside resources. And so that led to me writing a zip post and tar postprocessor for NBConvert so that I can do sort of direct comparison and see what might be being changed between the creation of the data URI and the download and whatnot, per Matthias's suggestion. And I'm now, in having done that, I'm starting to think that it should be a writer instead. Also, it made me realize that postprocessor is a pretty bad term for an analogy to preprocessor, because what we're doing with postprocessor is not doing something in memory, but rather manipulating objects on the file system, because it has to come after the writer, which is why I'm thinking for rather than creating all of the documents and then zipping or tarring them, just writing them to a zip or tar directory, like from the get-go using a writer, is more appropriate approach. But I am still figuring out how to do that. One of the things that is a little beguiling, but I think I figured it out, is that the tar file library in Python expects to see only files being passed in using its standard like add interface. It doesn't have the equivalent of what zip file has with write string. And I'm figuring out what to do around that, because I think I just need to create file-like objects and then pass those around. But beyond that, as Min helpfully made a PR about, MathJax is shutting down their CDN, and so we need to update ours, update what we are pointing to make sure that it doesn't. And did I say updating? I mean they're closing it. Yeah, and anyone else who has projects that are relying on MathJax, particularly downloading it from their CDN, you should probably switch. That's
right.
it.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, we're down to one postprocessor in the
Yes.
in NBConvert, and I think it makes good sense to do the zip thing at kind of the writer's level, and to maybe try work toward retiring the postprocessor notion if we can,
or at least deprecating it for this round and retiring it next.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I was just putting in the document as well. I don't think it's. Yeah, we've only got the slide server one, and I think that may as well just be a special case of the NBConvert application rather than a general concept of postprocessors.
Yeah, and maybe try to even reduce the configurability of that to the very specific case of serving files, and don't make postprocessors an extension. Kind of pull back on that as an extension point, because it's probably not the right time to do much of anything.
It's probably good then that we didn't make postprocessor entry points, which was one of the old issues. If this is going to be our strategy going forward, I think that there are actually a couple of issues that I can either close or at least leave a message on for future closing. Because this would still, when you say getting rid of it, do you mean like actually getting rid of the postprocessor like class out of NBConvert? Or because then external, okay.
Maybe eventually. And we can investigate if anybody's actually using it.
I think the context in which
originally go ahead.
Oh, I think the context in which hey, we want to have postprocessor entry points came up was some people in the Jupyter contrib sort of community that were trying to write postprocessors. Okay. But but I imagine that we could come up with some other way to handle that. Like if there were, like it almost could just be a separate thing that is specifically designed for managing that kind of file, or that kind of file structure.
Yeah, because after the writer, everything is on, like NBConvert's done, everything's on disk. That it's really just run another command after NBConvert is totally done.
Yep.
So one way to do that is to just run another command.
Yep.
But yeah, we can talk to definitely talk to people who want to write new postprocessors, because if there's a diminishing demand for it, we don't need to kill it. But
and I'm sure as soon as we say that we are considering killing it for the lack of use cases will start flooding in.
Naturally, yeah, that's how it goes.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Mike. Next, we've got dashboard and related extensions. Pete, unfortunately, can't make it today, but let me just share what he's provided in our notes. He said we cut releases of various extensions last week for compatibility with Notebook 5.0. And oops, I skipped one. Above that, we have kernel gateway and Docker stacks for services. Min, did you want to provide any updates? I noticed that Pete's the one that entered those bullet items. So
there's one pull request left for kernel gateway to use the activity monitoring stuff from Notebook 5.0, and as of a minute or two before the meeting today, that one is working and ready to go. So that should be ready to ship in the next day or two, I think.
Great, thanks.
And they're related to that. I made little patches to Jupyter clients and Notebook and kernel gateway due to a little source of trouble that was causing the test to fail in kernel gateway.
Gotcha. Are those reflected at the bottom of the notes?
The PR is, I added a link to the kernel gateway PR, and the kernel gateway PR has links to the other two related PRs.
Okay.
I can add them all there if you want, but they're in the graph from
okay. You can follow the trail of breadcrumbs. Okay. Thanks. Alrighty. Jupyter Lab. Darian, Steve?
So I'll go this week. More lessons learned and iterations on the extensions front. We're learning more and more that we need to use the standard tools and workflows if possible. The latest iteration is as close as possible to a standard JavaScript developer as we can get. So it's very much like npm install this thing and webpack this thing, and then that's your application. So we're starting there with the Grant's giving me a thumbs up. We're starting there with the basic case of you have an internet connection and you want to install extensions to Jupyter Lab and build the final application, and then we can start working on other workflows, more advanced workflows, like you're working on Jupyter Lab itself and an extension at the same time, supporting offline installs, which there are tools like npm box that will zip up an entire archive of your dependencies, and then you can unbox it on the user machine. So there are ways forward that are for the more advanced cases, but for the simplest case, using the standard tools for JavaScript development is the least brittle and painful path forward right now. So that's where we're headed with that. And there's a link to the discussion ongoing on that issue for the plan for extension handling. Ian's been doing work on the real-time model database. I'll let him talk about that afterwards if he'd like. And then I'll continue on to just say that Darian added the ability to have multiple file browsers. This was something Ian asked for to allow you to, you can have your local list of file directory, and then either another local or a remote, such as Google Drive, side by side, and we can eventually support actually dragging files from one to the other. But just so you're not limited to looking at one file browser at a time. So that's now in. Darian is currently working on the single document mode for JupyterLab. And the way we're going to initially manifest that is there'd be a command in the command palette to toggle between the modes. And so if you go into single document mode, the tabs go away, the doc panel goes away, and you have a single widget at a time that you're looking at, a single item. And then we're adding a left side panel item that allows you to toggle switch between the open items, which can include terminals, consoles, files, and so it'll look very much like the tab would have, but as a list of open items. So more like a single document view that you would have gotten with the classic notebook we're now offering for all file types. So that's a work in progress that Darren's working on. And Ian, I'll turn it over to you if you have anything you want to add about the model database work.
Sure, just a brief catch up. The idea is to define some sort of abstraction which involves a model database that provides various observable primitives. And by observable primitive, I mean something that satisfies a string type interface or a list type interface or a map type interface, where each of these interfaces can be subscribed to for change notifications. And so then this model database that provides these observable primitives can be implemented by various backends. The backend that is more or less up and running at the moment is the Google Drive real-time backend, but I'm looking at targeting other things like possibly the Derby.js backend and other possible real-time frameworks that exist out there. So that's the basic structure that I'm working with here. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, I'll throw a link up in the notes.
All right, cool. Thank you. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add? I see, Chris, you just joined. We're just wrapping up the Jupyter Lab section. Is there? Do you have any updates you want to share with the group?
I'm sure Steve and Darren took care of it.
Okay. And Ian. All right. Thanks, guys. Next, IPyWidgets. Are you guys here today? Jason.
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself.
No problem.
Yeah, lots and lots of work towards IPy7. You can see the pulse report for the whatever 10, 15, 20 pull requests we've closed. One thing of note, though, for everyone, we're moving. Right now, a pull request is in flight to move the widgets in the classic notebook from a single widget area to just being rendered in line with any other output. So this is how things work in JupyterLab, and thanks to Grant for digging up how to add MIME renders and the widget notebook. We're planning on moving forward with that change for IPyWidget 7. Unless there are huge objections, it is a kind of a big change workflow-wise with widgets, but I think it brings more benefits than the downside of backwards incompatibility. And the backwards incompatibility is really just understanding how widgets work, that it's in line with all the outputs, not so much any backwards incompatibility with people actually using widgets or programming widgets. Thoughts? Plus one, minus one. I'm on the phone, so I can't see what you guys are doing.
I think you got 10 thumbs up, Jason.
Awesome. Good. Okay, so we will proceed with that PR. Awesome. We'll proceed with that PR. We're fixing out some of the lingering things, but it's allowing us to delete a ton of code as well. A ton of code to manage the widget area and everything. And I don't think we need to delete very much code in the notebook because I think we've stripped it out. But anyway, it's nice to clean things up.
Great. Thanks, Jason. All right. Anything else? Widgets? And it's just Jason, so no Sullivan today.
That's everything for me. Yeah,
okay.
Everything for me.
Okay, thanks. Next, I feel like the next set, the first bullet in the next set needs like some music that goes with it. But Min, you want to do some Jupyter Hub updates?
Yeah, so the OAuth stuff has landed. So now Jupyter Hub is internally using OAuth to authenticate every, to handle the negotiation of authentication inside. And there's been a lot of work recently on deploying Jupyter Hub with Kubernetes that UV and Ryan and Carol and folks at Berkeley have been working on getting putting together documentation for doing your own deployments, and UV's been working a lot on getting the taking the generic parts of the Berkeley deployment and making something reusable. Yeah, so there's a lot of exciting things going on there. I think that's the gist.
Cool, thank you. All right, so we have a new section, it's other. For those who are watching, most of the groupings in these notes are based on our team structure now. We finalized a team structure late 2016, but some work falls outside of those team groupings, so we have another category now, and I can add to that. I wanted to just give you guys a quick update on Binder. So we're working with a team here. Chris Holgraf is leading a great effort with UV again, and Jeremy Freeman, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but UV is doing a lot of the work. You can check out the Binder room on Gitter. There's a lot of activity there going on to get Binder supported in a more sustainable way, and that's going really well. Once they're finished, we'll probably have a bigger announcement, but I just wanted to let you guys know that that's continuing on. All right, so exciting developments. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So conferences outreach, Project Jupyter will participate in open source day at Grace Hopper next year. So the organizers reached out to Carol and I to again participate. We did, Carol led an open hatch session on the Friday of Grace Hopper, where we worked with about 20 folks, some aspiring developers, other folks who had been working in industry for a while. So it was a really great range of folks and skill sets. And having an install party, showing them how to use Jupyter, and then taking on a mini project. So that was under Open Hatch. This next year we'll do our session that is for Project Jupyter. So that's what the name of our group will be titled as. So if folks want to go to Grace Hopper and you guys want to participate and work with a lot of really fun, energetic developers and technical women, come on over. It's a really great time. So, okay, we also have a whole bunch of other events that have already been announced. So we've got our team meeting coming up at the end of May, Codeland in New York City, April 21st and 22nd, Craft 2017 Budapest, April 25th to 28th. PyData London is coming up next month, May 5th through the 7th. There's a Jupyter Philly Day, it looks like May 19th. PyCon Taiwan, June 9th to 11th, PyParis in June, and then the Science Gateway Community Institute webinar on July 18th or 20th that Carol will be presenting at. We also have PyCon coming up in May as well. So I think every week I've shown what our schedule looks like for May. We all know we're going to be busy. So April is the last month that we'll have peace, and then we'll hit May. JupyterCon, we're plugging away on the registration site, so it'll be released soon. I don't think I'm supposed to give the date out, but that's moving along. No updates on the governance side. And Min, thanks for recording your action item for this week, release IPyKernel 4.6.1. Folks, if you guys, if you have other action items that you want to make sure you get on the notes, please add them here. Releases this week, we've got we've got last week's in parentheses. We had Jupyter dashboard. These are from Pete. So Jupyter dashboards 0.7, Jupyter CMS 0.7, Jupyter dashboards bundlers 0.9, and SS. I think that's what's so funny, Ian. Last week, Jupyter Lab 0.19 and associated NPM packages, mostly at 0.2. So we don't have any releases soon, but I think I'll probably have to update that because I know that there was an IPython release that Matthias was working on, and a couple other things from last week. I'll have to check back in March. Those got deleted. So great. Anything else, folks?
I have a quick question for the IPyKernel folks. If I remember right, the new display update, the updating display stuff, is not in the currently released IPyKernel. Is that right?
It is in the currently released IPyKernel.
It is in the current release. Okay.
But
is
it's
that
not in the currently released IPython.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm just curious in broad strokes, is there anybody working towards a release right now of IPython? I was curious if it was coming in like the next weeks, months, or like before the end of the year, or if there were any plans on that.
I think Matthias released an RC, a release candidate for IPython 6 the other day.
Okay, perfect.
That should be coming soon.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Thanks for the info. All right. Anything else, folks? 10 silent thumbs up. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Great seeing you. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye, Internet.